The Muppet Christmas Carol is, in my opinion, one of the very best Christmas movies of all time, and I stand by that. In fact, it's been a tradition of mine to watch The Muppet Christmas Carol every single Christmas since 1993, when I watched it for the very first time on VHS tape, and from that first viewing, I fell in love with this movie. It was this movie that actually introduced me to the famous story written by Charles Dickens, and as the years went on I seeked out other adaptations of A Christmas Carol, but The Muppets was always my favourite. The movie was released in cinemas in 1992, and it was the first Muppet movie to be produced after the sad death of Jim Henson. The movie was directed by Jim Henson's son Brian Henson, who did an absolutely fantastic job at bringing this adaptation to life. The movie starts and the camera sweeps over the snowy rooftops. It already feels like Christmas. You're instantly overcome with festivity, with the amazing Christmas music paired with the very attractive visuals of the set pieces that reimagine a 19th century London. And even though the set pieces obviously look fake, they are utterly delightful, with the buildings and door frames having an angle design to them that made the sets unique. The movie was also shot with some very really unusual but effective camera angles that had not really been used before in a Muppet movie. And the world that they actually created in this movie, you just accepted that it was the real world and consisted of so many different kind of Muppet characters that are all individually dressed in their very own Victorian attire. The costume designer even had real linings sewed into the Muppet jackets and real little pockets as well. The attention to detail was immaculate. The movie set had to be designed with raised flooring so that the puppeteers could actually stand underneath and operate the Muppets, whilst the human cast walked around on the raised floor on narrow walkways, meaning that they had to watch their footing. And this movie was one of the very first Muppet movies to actually use CGI and various green screen effects to achieve some impressive shots, especially when you see the Muppets' full body on screen. Throughout the movie we're joined by Gonzo, who has taken the role of Charles Dickens himself and provides narration to the story, and Rizzo the Rat, who is actually the only Muppet to play himself, comes along for the ride, and he is probably one of the funniest characters throughout the movie, with his wisecracks and hilarious mishaps.
I am here to tell the story.
And I am here for the food. Thank you for making me a part of this. Oh, there's only two things in this life I hate. Heights and jumping from them. Oh, that smells wonderful. Oh, at least I landed on something soft. And hot!
And then we have Ebenezer Scrooge, who is played by Michael Caine, who really does shine in this role. He plays Ebenezer so well, and in my opinion, for me, he is one of the best versions of Scrooge to ever grace the screen. And that is probably because of the way he plays the character. Before the movie went into production, Michael Caine said the following: "I am going to play this movie like I'm working with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I will never wink, I will never do anything Muppety. I am going to play Scrooge as if it is an utterly dramatic role and there are no puppets around me." Which I think was absolutely the right choice. Playing him straight worked brilliantly and ensured that the movie was grounded in the Dickens story, whilst the Muppets do what they do best. But that's not to say that the Muppets did not add so much heart to this movie. In fact, I say that they added a bucket load of heart, with just the right amount of humour. In my opinion, this is some of Caine's best work, and his acting is phenomenal as he takes the character from his mean-spirited ways to his delighted, giddy, joyful ways at the end of the movie. His range of emotion is a pleasure to watch and sometimes heartbreaking. In fact, most of the movie is displaying the tragic story, showing Scrooge slowly turn into the mean old miser as we know him. But with the inclusion of the Muppets and the jokes that are scattered here and there, somehow make it a fun watch. Often with Rizzo and Gonzo breaking the tension when we are watching a dark or sad scene.
Oh, is it too early for breakfast?
Yes.
Oh, good. Supper time.
At the start of the movie, we are treated to the first of many absolutely brilliant musical numbers. This one is titled Scrooge, and it's basically the Muppets singing about how cruel and mean Scrooge is as he walks through the streets, as the camera stays low, not revealing his face until the very end of the song when he reaches his office and barks.
Humbug.
And I really like the way they kept the camera angles low, not revealing Scrooge's face until the very end of the song. I think it worked really well in building up the mystery of who this man was right up until the very end of the song. It just worked perfectly. Inside Scrooge's office, we are introduced to Bob Cratchit and his army of bookkeepers that happen to be rats like Rizzo. A great addition, and they have some pretty fun jokes that never fail to get a laugh from me. every single year. The character of Bob Cratchit was played by Kermit the Frog, and of course Kermit had been voiced by Jim Henson for the longest time, but now the voice of Kermit came from the vocal cords of Steve Whitmire, and Steve was quite nervous and anxious about voicing Kermit after Jim Henson did it for so many years. And in my opinion he does a fantastic job, and it is quite hard to tell the difference. It's practically flawless. And it's in this scene that we get to witness just how cruel Scrooge can be by refusing to let his staff have coal for the fire.
If you please, Mr. Scrooge, it's gotten colder. Any bookkeeping staff would like to have an extra shovel full of coal for the fire?
How would the bookkeepers like to be suddenly
We also get to see him refuse to have Christmas dinner with his nephew, and then we get to meet Bean Bunny, who plays a little homeless boy who at one point we see singing Christmas carols to Scrooge, only to have a wreath thrown at him. And then we see Scrooge refuse to give to two charity workers played by Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker, and he shows them the door. And if you watch very carefully, it almost looks like Beaker is flipping Scrooge off before he leaves.
I think we've taken enough of Mr. Scrooge's time. Oh dear. Oh dear.
A little later, after Bob Cratchit convinces Scrooge to let his staff take Christmas Day off work, much to his dismay, he leaves for the night. Kermit and the bookkeeper start to tidy and close the office for the night, and it's here that we are treated to our second song of the movie, One More Sleep Till Christmas, which is so catchy and so full of happiness and festivity, which is a great contrast after the previous scene with Scrooge.
There's magic in the air this evening, magic in the air.
The song continues as the Muppets venture outside where the Penguins' Christmas skating party is in full swing. And as the song ends with some very beautiful visuals, we see the little homeless bunny shivering in the cold, trying to stay warm. This is the way the movie works. It kind of gives you a hard scene to watch, and then they lift it with a bit of levity, and then they give you another hard scene. They kind of always dropping you in and out, so your emotions are always up and down. In the next scene we see Scrooge arrive home just before he encounters the ghosts of Jacob and Robert Marley, and the movie does a great job at building up the tension before they arrive, with lots of dark shadows and jump scares, and for a Muppet movie it is really quite dark. Jacob and Robert Marley are played by the Muppets Statler and Waldorf, an absolutely perfect casting choice in my opinion, and they have been cursed to never rest and wear heavy chains in the afterlife due to their misdeeds in life. They tell Scrooge that this is his destiny, this is his fate, and that he wears such a chain. Now of course in the original Christmas Carol there's only one ghost, which is Jacob Marley, but in the Muppet version they create a second character named Robert, and for the longest time I thought this was the original story. I thought there was actually two ghosts named Robert and Jacob. It was only later on that I started watching other adaptations and I actually read the book that I learned that there was only one ghost, but because of the Muppet Christmas Carol I always thought there was two. It's in this scene that we get the next song in the movie, sang by the terrible duo themselves, titled Marley and Marley, and like the other songs it's catchy, but this time it has a much darker tone as they sing about their misdeeds in life, and the song really does drive home that Scrooge is doomed if he doesn't change his ways.
Boom, Scrooge, you're doomed for all time.
Scrooge is then told that he will be visited by three ghosts for a chance of redemption, and to expect the first ghost when the bell tolls 1. Now before we go any further, let me just talk about the three Christmas ghosts. They were originally meant to be played by the Muppet cast, but it was decided that the three ghosts should be brand new Muppets made especially for this role, and I think it was the perfect choice as all three are brilliantly designed. Now first we have the Ghost of Christmas Past, which actually does not look like any other Muppet on the screen. She is quite unique, more like a little doll. And she glows and she floats in the air and all her costume is kind of wispy, and apparently the puppeteers achieved this effect by actually using the puppet in a tank of water to make the material float around like a ghost. And then the image was flawlessly somehow placed into the screen with Michael Caine perfectly. And then we have the Ghost of Christmas Present, who is a little forgetful and he only lives in the now, in the present, which I believe is only used in this version to amplify the fact that this ghost lives in the present and is forgetful when it comes to the past. The puppet they created is a big, jolly, bearded ghost, and he shrinks down to Scrooge's size when they meet. And you also see the Muppet become older as the storyline continues. And then we get possibly the scariest Muppet in the whole movie, the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, who looks somewhat like a ring wraith from the Lord of the Rings movie. He has outstretched arms with long bony fingers. And for a Muppet movie, this movie is kind of dark and scary, but it is so good. The first ghost, the ghost of Christmas Past, takes Scrooge back to his childhood days, back to his school, as it is closing for Christmas, and we see a very young Scrooge is left alone. And then we see Scrooge grow a little older and become the apprentice to Fozziwig, who is played by Fozzie Bear. It's just perfect. And to have any other Muppet play the part of Fozziwig would have been a massive, massive mistake. Although I will say this, Fozzie Bear did seem a little bit underplayed, but you can only give the Muppets as much time on screen as the story allows, I suppose. Whilst at Fozziwig's Christmas party, we see a young Scrooge meet a young lady named Belle, and their love story grows over the next scene, and we discover that Scrooge has this fixation with money, and it forces a couple to go their separate ways. But it's the way that the movie plays this scene out. It is somewhat brilliant, with another song that this time is sung by Belle herself, titled When Love Is Gone.
Love is gone, when love is gone.
It is a really emotional song and really pulls at your heartstrings as the couple separate forever. There's even a small part where Ebenezer sings a few words behind Belle, with tears in his eyes, longing for his shadow of the past that he let slip away. This song is absolutely essential for the movie and this scene to work. But when the movie was released, it was decided that this song would be cut from the movie, as it was believed that it would be too boring for children. Although the song did make its way back into the VHS release, and this is a version that I watched as a 10-year-old, and even at that age I could appreciate this scene. And later on, when I purchased the DVD, I was really disappointed to find that the song was missing, and instead we got this really hard cut where we see Belle and Scrooge have a very short conversation, and then the scene jumps completely, cutting out the song, totally ruining the emotional impact the scene had.
Oh, Rizzo.
You see, this song wasn't only essential for this part of the story, but it was essential for the end of the movie also, where Scrooge sings a version of this song called The Love We Found, and it drives it home that the love Scrooge once lost, he has found again with his friends at the end of the movie. And that is actually how it was for the longest time. The clip just vanished from the movie. That is until 2022, when Disney Plus included the song once again on their streaming service, and you can actually go and view this yourself right now by selecting the special features and then selecting the uncut version, and you will be treated to the full version with the song by Belle, which is definitely the best way to watch this movie. Next, Scrooge is visited by the ghost of Christmas Present, who shows him visions of Christmas Day and shows him the happiness Christmas brings again with an absolutely brilliant song, It Feels Like Christmas. Probably one of my favourite in the whole movie.
True, wherever you find love, it feels like Christmas.
Next, the spirit takes Scrooge to his nephew's house, where he and his family are enjoying a fun game of yes and no, which is unfortunately at Scrooge's expense.
An unwanted creature, but not a rattle-leech or a cockroach.
Then what? Then what? What?
It's Ebenezer Scrooge.
And the way Scrooge reacts to the cruel way they are talking about him is actually quite sad, and you actually feel for him as he realises what people actually do think of him. It's a scene that always hits hard. The ghost then takes Scrooge to the Cratchit's household, where we meet Bob Cratchit's family. The diva Miss Piggy plays Bob's wife, and we have his daughters Bettina and Belinda Cratchit, his son Peter, and of course his other son Tiny Tim, played by Robin the Frog. The ghost shows him how the family struggle with so little money, but nonetheless are enjoying Christmas Day with their very modest goose. Kermit, or Bob, lifts a glass to the founder of the feast, Mr. Scrooge, to which Miss Piggy, Emily, quickly shows her disgust. And it's in this scene that we meet Tiny Tim, Bob's sickly son, who walks with a crutch and has a heart of gold, and it's clear that this may be his last Christmas. Here we get the next song in the movie, Bless Us All, sung by Tiny Tim, and it's another heartwarming tune that only makes Tiny Tim's loss more difficult to bear later on in the movie.
Bless us all who gather here.
And then we have the scariest spirit of them all, the ghost of Christmas yet to come, a truly terrifying creation shrouded in a black robe with a dark void where his face should be, and arms that stretch out with very long bony fingers. Even Gonzo and Rizzo leave us at this part of the story because they are too scared to stick around.
Oh, this is too scary. I don't think I want to see any more.
No, when you're right, you're right.
This is where the movie gets truly dark. The ghost takes Scrooge into the future, where at first we see some characters discussing the passing of a man who will not be missed. And then we see a scene where Scrooge is witnessing a dead man's blankets and bed curtains being sold by old Joe, who is played by a gangly spider that fits the scene so well in a dark, wet alleyway. Scrooge is desperate to see some tenderness and asks the spirit to take him back to the Cratchit house, which was a place of joy and happiness the last time Scrooge visited. And when they arrive, Scrooge discovers that Tiny Tim has passed away, and this is a very, very sad scene. In fact, out of all the different versions of a Christmas Carol movie I have seen throughout the years, the loss of Tiny Tim has never been more impactful to me as it is in this movie. It really is a very, very sad scene as Kermit or Bob talks about how he has chosen a nice place on the hill in the cemetery where Tiny Tim can see the ducks. When he delivers that line, it's heartbreaking, and you really get a sense of loss as the instrumental version of Bless Us All that Tiny Tim sang earlier in the movie plays in the background. And then the scene changes and the spirit takes Scrooge to the graveyard and shows him his own gravestone. And Scrooge breaks down, and it is played brilliantly by Michael Caine. And he promises to honour Christmas and keep it throughout the year, and promises not to forget the lessons his free spirits have taught him, and begs for redemption. Then all of a sudden, the movie gives us a very good transition, and Scrooge is back in his bedroom on Christmas morning, and he's ecstatic, and the dark tone of the movie we had moments ago has gone, and colour is back in the scenery, and even Gonzo and Rizzo have returned, and Caine's acting is spectacular as we see him overcome with joy. And Caine plays the scene out so well. You really feel that he is just filled with excitement for the very first time. And the comedy is back also as Scrooge pushes a window open, knocking Gonzo and Rizzo off the ledge. Scrooge gets the attention of the homeless rabbit played by Bean Bunny from the beginning of the movie and sends him off to buy a turkey and have it delivered to the Cratchit house. We then see Scrooge go into the streets wishing people a Merry Christmas and righting a few wrongs like giving to charity. And in return, Beaker hands Scrooge his own red scarf, a really nice touch. And then we get the song A Thankful Heart, which I think might actually be my favourite song in this movie. Forget what I said before, this may be actually my favourite song. In fact, I kind of like every single song in this movie, but this one is just so uplifting. It's fantastic.
Thankful heart with an endless joy, with a growing family, every girl and boy will be nephew and niece to me.
And I truly believe it's down to Caine's acting and definitely not his singing voice, which isn't bad, but it isn't great. But even Michael Caine was aware that he couldn't sing, but he insisted it was better this way for the character and he refused to have singing lessons.
I think it's rather sad too that he can't even get the tune right. When I first became an actor, the producer said to me, use the difficulty. And that's what we've just done. We've used the fact that I can't sing.
Does it help to have the young lady in your headphones, or would you rather hear just yourself alone?
No, I don't ever want to hear myself alone.
Okay.
Beautiful. Right? I wish I could sing like that.
This part of the movie, the ending of the movie, is just filled with so much happiness and joy as we see Scrooge embrace Christmas. It just works, and it works really well as Scrooge sings A Thankful Heart as he goes around handing out gifts and greeting everyone as he makes his way to the Cratchit house. The ending of the movie sees Scrooge knocking on the Cratchit door and pretends to be in a foul mood as he tells him that he is going to raise his salary and buy the house for him, and asks them to join him for a turkey dinner. And then we get the final song, The Love We Found, which is a callback to Belle's song, When Love Is Gone, which was cut from the movie, which is essential for the final song to have an emotional impact as the credits roll. A perfect ending to tie up both scenes from the movie. A scene where we see Scrooge lose something and gain something that he has found once again.
The love we found, we carry with us.
And when the movie does end, you feel such a buzz, you feel such a fuzzy, happy feeling of joy, and I don't know, you kind of want to rewind it and watch it again. That's how it makes me feel every time. The Muppet Christmas Carol is a very dark movie in places, and that's because it is very faithful to the book, but the Muppets in the movie provide levity to bring us back from some of the more emotional scenes. You can definitely expect to be laughing one minute and crying the next, but the comedy isn't overdone, it's done perfectly and does not bring us out of the story. It's just the right combination. The Muppet Christmas Carol movie is my all-time favourite Muppet movie and Christmas movie combined. It's a must-watch every Christmas and I always make sure that I do. And if I ever did miss it, Christmas just wouldn't be the same. Thank you so much for watching and have a very, very Merry Christmas. I'll see you soon.
And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.